Grade 12 Economics. Please welcome Mr. Mhlomo. I'm back here with you today on a lesson which is mainly focusing on revision. Today, the main focus is to provide a relevant training to you so that going to the examination, you will be having all tools necessary for you to knock down the exam. So the first part will be the layout of the examination structure. Second part will be the training on how can you achieve your target in economics, combining both paper 1 and paper 2. And then the last part will be based on some examples of previous question papers in section B as well as section C. Remember, examination is just here. On the 1st of November, you are writing economics, paper 1, which will be the morning session. And then on the 8th of November, we are writing economics, paper 2, in the second session. There are so many factors that might affect you towards the examination and towards your succession in the examination. Remember, as a country, we are facing the issue of load shedding. So it is very important that you ensure that to maximize your opportunity to study if you have an opportunity. Number 2, remember that our paper 2 will be written on the 8th of November. Which are factors that will treat you bad in there? On the 4th of November, you're writing Maths and Maths Lit, paper 1. Then you have a weekend to prepare also. On Monday the 7th, we are writing Maths Lit and Maths paper 2. Now, think about the economics now on the following day. On the 8th of November, we are writing some languages in the morning session. Then second session, you will be writing economics. So look at how your timetable is congested when it comes to economics paper 2. So I would say to you, it will be very, very much fair of you to prepare for both paper 1 and paper 2 now while you are still having time, because once you start, it will be very hard for you to focus, especially in economics paper 2. That is just the advice I'm giving to you as you are facing the congested timetable for paper 2. Otherwise, revision is paper 2. I'm Mr. Mhlomo. Please join me. Let's see what we have in the pocket for you. The following are the lesson objectives or outcomes. The lesson is aiming at the following. So this lesson provides training to candidates on the following aspects. The question paper structure. In this case, we refer to both paper 1 and paper 2. The layout of the question paper. This has been covered before in our previous lessons. However, not all of you were online. Not all of you managed to view those lessons, but now it will be repeated so that you all get the information. Strategies to obtain marks per section. It will provide you some strategy that you can use to achieve or to obtain marks per section, section A, B, and C. What should you do to ensure that you obtain marks? We know we have studied already, but now there should be strategies, because if you don't have strategies to get marks or to get maximum marks, you might lose with the content that you have. Strategy is useful to achieve your target. It is very important that you set your target that you want to achieve for your examination. Make it clear to yourself so that you set your strategies and the plan that will be in line with the target that we have set. Also, examples of section B and section C questions. So this is the structure of the question paper. You are familiar with this from your examination guidelines. We have our paper 1 to be written on the 1st of November. We have our paper 2 to be written on the 8th of November. So remember, the main topic in there, the first one will be the macroeconomics for your paper 1. Which topic should you consider there? You have circular flow, business cycles, public sector, as well as the foreign exchange markets. So when you study, you know your strengths and your weaknesses. So it is very important for you to ensure that wherever you have a strength, you maximize opportunities to choose those questions. You can't be choosing the topic that contains most of your weaknesses. Automatically, you won't achieve marks according to your plan. So if, let's say, we have macroeconomics, then you are very strong in macroeconomics. Ensure that you maximize opportunities for yourself then. Study macroeconomics because you understand it better. Study it thoroughly and ensure that you know all of these topics from the level of lower level to the higher level. And then we have, or remember that also, these topics can be found in section A, section B, and section C. In section A, we have these topics, they will be split across. And then in section B in paper one, in section B in paper one, we have these topics, all of them collectively in our question number 2, as well as a part of question number 4. Remember, question 4 is the combination of macroeconomics and economic pursuits. And then we go to economic pursuits. Now, you have protectionism and free trade. You have growth and development. You have industrial development policies. You also have economic and social performance indicators. These are topics that can also be discovered in section A, B, and C. However, it differs now. In section B, you come across these topics in question number 3. Question 3 is full of economic pursuits. And then, still in section B, you come across these questions or these topics in question number 4. They are the part of question 4. Remember, it is combined in question 4. And then you have an essay from this section or from these topics in your question number 6. So this is our main focus for paper 1. Paper 2 will be dealt with when the time is around. And then details on the question paper. Remember, each paper is 150 marks. The duration of each paper is 2 hours. And then each paper comprises 6 questions divided into 3 sections. We have section A, section B, and then we have section C. Your section A is compulsory. You don't have a choice in there. You answer all questions out of 30 marks. Your section B consists of 3 questions, but then now you answer only 2 questions. That is from question 2, question 3, and question 4. You don't answer all of those 3 questions. You answer only 2 out of 3, meaning you have a choice in there. Section C consists of 2 questions, and you answer only 1. You have question 5 and question 6. You choose only 1 question between the 2 to answer. 1 question will be from, question 5 is from your macroeconomics. Question 6 is from your economic pursuits. Section A layout. Remember, I said it's compulsory for 30 marks. The question 1, you have a multiple choice. You are given the statement and 4 options. 1 option is correct. Each option or each answer worth 2 marks. And then you have the total of 16 marks in there. A 1.2, still in question 1, section A, is matching items column A and column B. That's why you are provided 8, column A and column B. Then you are given 8 items, in 8 items in column A, and then column B you are given 9 items. In there you need to choose correct and accurately to get your marks. Each answer worth a mark or 1 mark, then the total will be 8 marks. 1.3, give a term or a concept. That's where now you will be given a description or definition. You provide the concept or a term. Each answer worth 1 mark, then you have 6 marks in total. That will give you data. Remember, in this 1.3, we don't accept abbreviations or acronyms. Multiple choice. Remember, how to score more marks in section A. Under multiple choice, you need to read the statement with understanding and have an answer in your mind. Meaning, we know we are given 4 options, but as you read the statement, you need to provoke your answer within your mind so that if you look within the given options, you are looking for the answer that you know. Then reading the statement, you don't understand. You are looking for the answer. How can you look for something that you don't even know? Be precise when choosing an answer, because between given options, 1 answer is correct, 1 answer is close, and they belong to the same or similar content. Do not guess an answer. Contextualize or classify given options to the statement. Don't just guess the answer, because guessing might lead to you getting 0 out of 16. It is very important that you read each statement with understanding and then provoke the answer. If you go in, you choose the answer that is given in 4 options. And then we continue. Do not leave anything unattended. Provide all answers. Because if you leave something unattended, you are losing 2 marks. Each mark is very important. This is final examination. We don't have any second chance from now on, unless you will be given a sub. Do not write one answer on top of another answer. Rather, scratch out the incorrect answer and write the correct one. This is the example. If you initially wrote C, then you remember that the answer is B. You scratch C clearly and then you write B. Do not do this. C, B. This is not clear now. Ensure that your answers are clear so that you get your marks. Total marks is 16 marks. And then we continue. 1.2, mention items. You need to know your descriptions for column A before searching for corresponding options in column B. Now, given the column A, you are given the concept in there. Maybe they say repo rate or repurchase rate. You need to have an understanding of what repurchase rate or repo rate is before looking for the answer that's relating to repurchase rate in column B. Don't just look at the repo rate and look for the answer that you don't even know. Ensure that you have a certain description in your mind of the concept in column A. Then you look for that matching description. That matching description in column B. It is very important that you do that so that you get these 8 marks. Avoid just guessing, because if you guess, you will be picking wrong answers to wrong, numbers. Then you will be losing everything. It is very important. Remember, I keep on emphasizing each and every mark counts. This is final examination. Always start with answers you know are correct, because if not, getting one option wrong means getting another option wrong. You might be picking the answer for 1.2.1 in 1.2.2. That simply means now we have 2 answers that are wrong by making one wrong option. Use elimination method. Eliminate answers you know and you are sure they are correct. Meaning you start with answers that you know. Simply provide them in there. You seek or you look at your option, at your column B, and see which answers are remaining that you have not yet discovered. Then you can start working around those remaining options. But if you simply answer everything at the same time, you will end up choosing wrong answers into wrong numbers, and then you will get 0/8 as possible. And then concentrate on the remaining options, like I've said. Contextualize remaining options to column A. Do not leave anything unattended. Ensure that you attend to everything, and then you get your 8 marks. Then in your pocket, B and section C. But if you forfeit marks in section A, you are digging your own grave. Be aware of the fact that as you lose this mark, maybe you get 4/30. Section B will be challenging, section C will be challenging. So it will be difficult for you to score marks. Ensure that you give it the dignity it deserves. Work on it. Give it time it deserves, because this 30 mark is very important. If you think essay is very much important than section A, check the following. And essay is 40 marks. Section A is 30 marks. The difference is only 10. And all of these marks are important. So ensure, especially if you know that you are struggling. You struggle to get level 2. You struggle to get level 3. This is the section where you need to capitalize the most and score more marks. Going to section B, you simplify, because already we have 30 marks or 25 marks in your pocket. It will be easy for you to go forward and score some marks in there. This gives you confidence. I know you always start by checking at the section C, because an essay is a part of those questions that give confidence also to you. But section A is also an important section. Ensure that you score marks. We don't multiply by 2 the mark that you get in section C. We give it the same weight that it deserves. So avoid underestimating section A, because this one might rescue you in your situation. It might take you to the certain level. So the failure to score marks in this section might lead to you facing some challenges in section B and section C. Then all in all, you have your 30 marks. And then section B, what should be done? You need to choose very smart. So it is very important for you that given question 2, 3, and 4, before you choose the question, you use what we call a pre-analysis. Look at those questions that are provided in there, from the top to the bottom. Try to calculate marks that you believe you will achieve. Because the failure to calculate marks that you think you will achieve, you will end up choosing the wrong question that cannot give you more marks. It's all about marks, remember. So choose the question according to marks that you believe you will achieve in that particular section. Do not just choose without any background. Use what we call an opportunity cost. Choose the question because it will give you more score. Avoid choosing the question that will not give you more marks. What is the danger of not doing the pre-analysis on the question paper before you start writing? The danger is you choose question 2, you write it, you complete it. You go to question 3, you feel that question 3 is better. You choose it, you write it, and then you notice that no, actually question 4 is much better than question 3. You also write question 4. You end up writing all questions without even scraping. That simply means now you have written extra questions in there, and you spend most of your time in section B. Consider the following. Section C is also waiting for you. So ensure that when you choose 2 questions, be precise. Choose according to marks that you believe you will achieve. It is very important. So first 4 marks, we call them ice breaking. That is, it can be 2.1.1, 2.1.2. Remember, you list in 2.1.1. Each answer is 1 mark, is for 2 marks. 2.1.2, remember, you link. It is very important. That is the weakest point that we are facing as educators in economics. Most of you, you are struggling to link concepts for you to make sense and provide the correct answer. Ensure that you are able to link. If you can link, then you can get your 2 marks in there. So, given those first two questions, those 2 questions worth 4 marks. They don't give you all right to choose the question. You need to go down again to data response in the 2.2 and 2.3 and check the content in there. Check if you will manage it. Then you go down to 2.4, 2.5, 3.4, 3.5, 4.4, 4.5. Look at those questions. They were the 16 marks. Actually, if you can notice that you will be able to get 16 over 16 in there, then it might give you an opportunity to choose that particular question because it will give you more score. So it is very important that when you choose, you don't choose on the basis of 1 mark that you believe is achievable. Choose on the basis of the maximum mark that you believe you will be able to achieve. Compare these 3 questions, 2, 3, and 4. After that, use the opportunity cost. The one with the most score is chosen, and the second option is also chosen. That is better than the last one. It is very important. Read data response question while highlighting main points. If you are given data response, you need to highlight main points. If you are given the extract, underline those key points in there. If you are given the cartoon, underline and provide some analysis. If you are given the table with information, highlight the basic information in there and look at questions. The higher are the achievable marks, the greater is the advantage of choosing the question. Step number 3, read the second data response, do the same thing. After that, you go to those 8 marks question, 8, which goes to 16. Calculate your guaranteed marks. Calculating your guaranteed marks is a major technique to make a right choice in section B. Step 4, read your first 8 marks question. Consider if you can be able to answer it. You check the second one, calculate your possible marks, and then you will see how much marks do you think you have roughly. Then you can make a choice. And then calculate all marks and move to the next question, do the same strategy. And then after that, it will be easy for you to choose the right question. Ensure that you choose question, like I've said, based on marks you will achieve, not based on the fact that maybe it's macro is pursuit. Most of you prefer answering question 2 and question 4. Be very careful of the question paper. Things are changing now. The notion we are having is no longer the same. Question paper is changing. You find question 3 being easier than question 4. So now you need to maximize your opportunities of choosing questions accordingly. Study everything. Maximize your macroeconomics, maximize your pursuit. Then you are opening much opportunities for you to choose any question that will come in the examination. But if you decide to focus on one section, then you find yourself struggling in answering some questions. Macroeconomics cannot always be easy. It challenges because the content is too open and wide in there. So if you go for macroeconomics, you need to be filled of information, of reasoning, because the failure to do so, you will find yourself struggling to achieve marks. Approaching the question paper, understand the question before attempting to answer. Some of you read the question on pre-reading and answer that particular question and do it wrong because you did not understand the question. Avoid an early excitement. Some of you read the question, you see a certain concept, you celebrate, only to find that the question statement continues. If it continues, then there might be the change of perception. There might be the additional content in there. So it is very important for you to read the question with understanding. For instance, I'll make an example of, I think it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken, where the question said in macroeconomics, question 5, discuss in detail all features underpinning forecasting, excluding indicators. What did candidates do? They simply discussed all features underpinning forecasting. Remember, the statement continues. You need to read the statement with understanding. So candidates were very happy with features underpinning forecasting. They celebrated. The first answer was leading indicators, lagging indicators, coincident, and composite. That was totally wrong. It was not credited in there. Some of them only wrote those 4 indicators. Then they got 0 in the main part because they enjoyed the early excitement of the question statement. It is very important that you read the question statement with understanding before attempting to answer, because the failure to do so, you will be losing marks in there. Create an essay structure or essay structure that can assist you to remember subheadings. Especially on each essay, have your own method that you can use to remember subheadings so that you can score those lower order marks. Make a structure for each subheading by listing components to discuss the mind map. Have your own mind map that is working for you. That's a structure. Provide all information correct and relevant to each subheading to get bound. You need to ensure that you provide everything related to the topic that has been asked and relevant. Avoid being choosy, avoid listing. You need to provide detailed answers where you are supposed to discuss so that you can get your marks. Otherwise, you will find yourself in 78 instead of getting 80 as a distinction. It is very important. You have seen it happening. It's because you think you are already having it, only to find that your fate will be decided in the marking center. And if maybe you list instead of discussing, you forfeit marks. If you use the general knowledge, I think, we don't use that the most. We use the content and link the content to the, what we call the economics that's practically happening in the world. In case marks are allocated per subheading, especially in the essay, save time and provide information appropriate to the allocated marks. If ever the particular subheading maybe 6 marks, do not write half a page. It will be wrong of you. You are wasting your time. Look at the mark allocation per subheading and provide marks according to that. Understand the additional part question before attempting to answer. It is very important because in most cases that's a higher order. We know that, and it's a critical question to answer. Ensure that now you redeem yourself. Discover what is required by the question paper or by the question, and then arrange the answering method, and then answer questions. Ensure that you provide full points in discussion, and then ensure that you avoid writing in paragraphs so that you may not forfeit marks unnecessarily. Do not list, but write points in full sentences in a form of discussion. Writing full sentences, remember that mere listing will be provided the maximum of 2 marks in some instances. Make use of IMAC essay structure to ensure that you attempt all aspects of an essay. Your essay conclusion should not repeat any information written on the essay body, as well as your additional part. It should be the higher order response. Then now, you have your own target. I believe your educator have already shown you the mark that you have qualified with as for your year mark out of 100, and also converted that to 25%. It is very important for you as a candidate to know the mark that you qualified with for the entire year. Remember, we're working out of 550 this year. Now, it is very important that the mark that you achieved is well known. It's clear to you. so that you can easily set your target for the final examination. So that it will be easy for you to set your trend on how much are you willing to achieve for the entire examination, then including your SBA out of 25%. Ensure that before you go to the examination, you know that so that you can see if your target is achievable or not achievable. Make your target clear. Ensure that your target is clear to you and it is also clear to your study methods. Because you find that you have a target of level 7, but to study the subject only for 1 hour. It cannot work like that. As much as your target is very, very high, you need to ensure that your study methods are working and the time allocated is also enough. The other thing I want to share with you, it is very important to know the following. We are done with the year mark. Take it as if now we are starting afresh. Whatever that you have achieved from term 1 to term 3, just forget about that. This is the new slate. We are working out of 300 marks and out of 75%. Ensure that now, everything you are doing, you focus on the examination. Avoid being happy with the year mark that you have achieved, because that might mislead you. That might lead to higher variance as compared when we compare your year mark and your examination. Take it as if you have 0 right now. Work tirelessly, ensure that you push yourself. Because if you keep on going, saying around you have 90% in economics as a year mark, you can go down in your final examination because it is unknown. You need to prepare yourself thoroughly. This is the new project that we are dealing with. The project for the year is over. Focus on the new project that will take you only 2 days, paper 1 and paper 2. Ensure that you employ all good strategies that have been working for you. Assess yourself, seek for assistance. Then you will achieve your target if your target is fair to you. Some of you set unfair targets. Looking at your struggles, you simply maybe be surrounded by peer pressure. You set the highest target that will put you under pressure and be frustrated. Set the target that is achievable and also that is clear. Look at your strength and ensure that you do according to your target and your strength. Always study according to your target. You cannot set the target of achieving, especially in examination, 260 out of 300. Then you don't study. You are wasting your time and you have set the target that is not achievable for you if you don't start and prepare yourself. Know your final SBA mark for the year in the subject in 2022. It is very important, like I've said before, you must know how much percentage did you get out of 100 and how much out of 25. So that you can see if your target is still achievable or not. You work around that. Calculate the mark out of 550 and convert the mark to 25%. So calculate your marks for the entire year out of 550 and then convert them to 25% to see how much marks are you having as for 25%. I'm talking about what is ready for you and waiting for you. It will depend then how much are you getting in the examination out of 300 and then to be converted to 75%. And then we see if we are able to get it or not. Note the following. This is an example. Here is Mhlomo. Mhlomo got 495. Mhlomo worked very hard. Mhlomo got 495 out of 550 for the entire term 1, term 2, and term 3. And then conversion, 495 over 550 times 25 is 22.5%. This is what Mhlomo is having, waiting for him to the examination. So Mhlomo is only waiting for 75% to work for in the examination out of 300. Whatever mark Mhlomo will get will be converted to how much? 275. And then additions will be done to see if Mhlomo is getting his targeted mark or not. Mhlomo needs distinction if we look at his SBA as a final mark. So note the following. Mhlomo gets 120 in paper 1 and gets 120 in paper 2 out of 150, 150. And then the total in there is 240 over 300 in combined papers. And then convert to 75%. So 240 over 300 times 75, Mhlomo is having 60% in there. And then we add now. Let's see. This 60% is the examination. We have 22.5 in what you call in your SBA for the year. Let's see. SBA mark 22.5, exam mark 60%, which is 22.5 plus 60, and then we get 82.5. Hooray, Mhlomo get distinction. Because Mhlomo understood he got 22.5, so he only needed about 60%, even less than 60%, actually 58% or 57.5% to get 80%, which is the distinction in the examination. So it is very important for you to set your target clear and work around your target in everything that you do in economics. Then Mhlomo have achieved, Mhlomo get the distinction that he wanted to achieve. And then let's check. How can you reach your target? We assume you are struggling. It is very difficult for you to even to reach level 2 in economics. But now, listen to me, I'm telling you, it is easy to get level 2, even level 3, even if you are struggling, because you need to know loopholes in the question paper. You need to know section that will provide you with more score sheet. The failure to do so, you will end up going to the question paper without having any strategy. So calculate the mark out of 550. So it is very important that you also know the mark that you have achieved for the entire year, so that you see if the target is achievable or not. Conversion. We assume you got what you call 195 out of 550 all in all for the year. That gives you 8.8% out of 25%. Now, you are struggling. You are on level 1. This is the Mhlomo. Mhlomo is on level 1. Mhlomo needs to get level 2 and upward. Mhlomo is losing the hope over the examination. Mhlomo gets 45 in paper 1. And Mhlomo gets 59 in paper 2. We combine the two. We get 104 in combined papers. And then let's see, convert to 75. 104 over 300 times 75, it is 26%. That is your examination. Now, let's add SBA together. SBA mark is 8.8, exam mark is 26%. Then 8.8 for the entire plus 26%, we get 34.8. Mhlomo escape level 1. So, guys, it is highly possible for you to simply leave level 1 and go to level 2 and above if you have the clear target. In economics, you just have to get, if ever you are really struck, you even want to leave the subject now, you can't leave it now. It is very important for you to know that you must get 45 or above 45 in paper 1, 45 or above 45 in paper 2, and then we look at your SBA mark. You can get level 2 and above if you are willing to do so. Getting level 1 means really you did not do enough. You need to push yourself, set your target, work around it. It is highly achievable, trust me. Even if you have been getting level 1 for past 3 years, it is possible that you get level 4 right now by using the strategy to achieve good marks in the subject. It is very important that you employ good strategies for the examination. And then level 1 is eliminated. So it is very important for you to ensure that if you are struggling, know your strengths, work around, set your target, plan according to your target, study according to your target, then you can achieve whatever you want. And then it is very important to know your target, because if you know your target, you push according to your target. Knowing your year mark, you also push, being encouraged or discouraged by your year mark, then you do even more. And then study. Remember, it's study time now, nothing more. We are not teaching, we are revising and intervening. You need to study. Everything belongs to you now. Allocate study time according to your performance and your targeted mark. Like I've said before, you can't be willing to achieve level 7 and you study for an hour or 30 minutes. Study and assess yourself before using previous question papers. As you study, assess yourself from lower level, middle, and the higher level. Then you go to the question paper now. You simply knock it down in a form of previous question paper. Make use of examination guidelines while studying. It is very important that you use exam guidelines, because you find yourself studying a certain content as an essay while it is not a part of a prescribed essay in the exam guideline. It is very important that you understand the use of examination guidelines. Use NSC assessment tools to evaluate your study outcomes. We talk about question papers, we talk about memorandums. It will assist you to discover your gaps as you are preparing for the final examination. Do not cheat on your study. Keep in line with your study principles. If you are cheating while you are studying, you pretend to get them correct while they are wrong, then you are simply killing yourself. Ensure that you become strict to yourself so that you can be able to improve. Be familiar with the previous question papers so that you will be familiar with the structure of the examination. As much as it changes, but not everything is changing. So be familiar with the structure so that it will be easy for you to face or to approach the question paper when it comes to you. Let your study expose your weaknesses. If you avoid to be shown your weaknesses by your study, you will be frustrated. You will end up leaving everything unattended. But if you understand that as you study, it's a process. Your weaknesses have to be clear so that you work on your weaknesses to discover or develop them into your strengths. So let your study expose your weaknesses as you prepare for economics. Do not be frustrated, but use your winning methods. It is very important that you do that because we know that at times if something is not getting into your mind, you don't understand it, it frustrates. Let yourself be wrong and then be corrected. You still have time to ensure that each and every concept that is troubling you, you are able to work on it and get it correct. Believe in yourself. You know this. You have been doing it for past 3 years. Now you need to sit for the final examination. It is highly possible. You can't get below your target if you want to get your target. Ensure that you push yourself, study tirelessly, have working strategies. Surround yourself with people that will be able to add a value in your study in economics. Don't be drained. If you know something, share with those people that are still trying to understand the concept so that you become a master of the concept. Come the examination, it becomes easy for you to knock down the examination question paper. And then this is just the warning. Be careful of the NSC timetable for 2022. Economics paper 1 will be written on the 1st of November in the morning session 2022. Economics paper 2, 8 November 2022 afternoon session at 2 o'clock. There's a troubling paradise here. We are affected, all of you. If not all of you, most of you are affected, especially in paper 2. Maths paper 1 will be written on the 4th of November on Friday. And then you have a weekend, 5 and 6. And then paper 2, Math and Math Lit, will be written on the 7th of November, 2022. So that means your weekend will be spent trying to push yourself in maths. Maybe the paper 1 was not good for you. You try to get more marks in paper 2. Then you spend all of your hours studying Math and Math Lit. Now, what about economics? Because remember, on the 8th, you have economics, and not just economics. On the 8th in the morning session, you have a language that you will be writing. Some of you will be writing a home language. And then in the second session, you have economics. So check. You need to find some gaps from now on going forward so that as you prepare for economics, you prepare for both paper 1 and paper 2 because there will be a time where you will never have time to prepare for paper 2. So it is very important that you don't just focus on paper 1 only right now. Maximize the time you have to focus on both papers because you will have a problem. Math will never give you any time to breathe. You will focus on math. Once you are done with math, language is coming. Once you are done, you simply go and sit for economics. It is very important that you safeguard yourself. Your study should accommodate both papers right now. Because if you think you'll be studying for paper 2 on the week of paper 2, there is no time in there. You will only be having more time for math. So, and math, it is very important that you take care of your study right now. From now on, going to next week, up to the weekend, ensure that we have covered economics. Also, I have to be clear on this. Some subjects will be written back then on maybe on the 20th of November. No, man, you need to focus. Study according to the nearest. Economics will be written on the 1st. You can't be doing the subject to be written on the 25th of November. No, you can't do that. Ensure that all resources that you need for economics are around you. Prepare yourself. But if you simply mix everything, you will find yourself struggling in economics. Whatever target you have set won't be achieved because of the trouble that I've just said is in paradise. 8 November will be a challenge for you because most of you are doing maths and maths lit. And the weekend is a block in there. There's a method to be prepared for. There's economics to be prepared for. Now, you need to be very, very smart as you study right now. I'm wishing you all the best. You need to ensure that your time is used accordingly. Do not waste time anymore now because the challenge is beginning. And it can be a sweet challenge if you prepare yourself based on what I've just displayed to you. Now, we have just examples of previous question papers and some responses. Here you are given data response. Start the information below and answer questions that follow. Interdependence and uncertainty. So, in an oligopoly, as we read, no firm can take decisions on the price independently. It is because the decision to fix a new price will create a reaction amongst rival firms, but rival reactions cannot be predicted accurately. It is difficult in the oligopoly to predict what one competitor will do if one other firm takes a certain decision. That's why we say there's always interdependence. The firms always look at each other very, very close so that they can make profitable decisions. So, economics discussion net. Let's look at questions. This is oligopoly. Identify one restrictive practice by oligopolies above. Price fixing. Mention any one type of oligopoly. Remember, we have two: pure oligopoly and differentiated oligopoly. And then remember, the question can be the lower order. That question can develop to the middle order, and the same question can develop to the higher order. So be very, very careful. One concept can be required in a lower order, but the examiner can develop that particular concept to be the middle order and even be the higher order. When you study, prepare yourself. You need to exhaust the topic. Don't just do list and so forth. You need to exhaust the topic and go to the next. Don't just hint and hint and hint, because not everything is about listing. Some of the topics should be discussed in the examination. We have pure oligopoly, which is oligopoly that provides or produces homogeneous products. We have differentiated oligopoly that produces differentiated products. Briefly describe the concept of oligopoly. Oligopoly exists when there are few large firms and many buyers within the market. Any other correct and relevant definition is given marks. How do collusive behavior negatively affect consumers? How do we get affected by consumers through collusion? Consumers are exploited to high prices for less quantity of goods and services, which compromise the standard of living. If ever there's a collusion, consumers are simply compromised, because now firms make joint decisions, which reduces the choice for consumers and also results to prices being very, very high at the expense of consumers. It reduces competition within the market, resulting to less consumer choice. Joint decisions by firms compromise the quality of goods and services produced within the market. If firms are acting very much joint, that reduces competition. Without the competition, it will always be difficult for firms to provide the good quality, because consumers are not given any choice. There is no much competition within the market. Firms act in the same manner, so there is nothing that is pushing them to be better than their competitors. We'll continue. Why are oligopolies always reluctant to increase their prices beyond the collusive price formats? In the oligopoly market, competition exists. If one firm from the same industry increase the price or increase its price, consumers seek for a relatively cheap supplier. We have two firms that are selling the same product. One firm decides to sell the product at the higher price, then consumers will simply seek for the supplier that is selling at the lower cost. So the one that is just selling at the higher cost will be losing his or her market share. The increase in price might result in the decrease in total revenues and profits for the business if there is a cheap market that offers the same product at the lower price. So if ever there's another market around that is offering the product at the lower cost, consumers will simply shift to the market or the firm that is selling the product at the lower cost than that other competitor. That's why they're always reluctant to increase their prices. Consumers are sensitive to the change in price or to the increase in price in the market where competition exists. Because as one firm increases the price, while another firm keeps the price lower, consumers will be flowing to the firm that is still selling the same product at the same quality at the lower cost. And the one that have just increased the price will be losing consumers, losing the profit, and losing revenues. That was for 10 marks. We'll continue to the second data response. This is the graph. This is a part of the market failure. The PPC in there. You can see we have 2 points. We are producing two products with the given resources. And then you see in different curves which show that we are selling products that are satisfying the same utility. And then we have point E inside the PPC, point F inside the PPC. We have point D along the PPC. We don't have any point outside that. Remember the following as you see the graph. Any point inside the PPC indicate inefficient. Any point along is efficient. Any point outside, which might be here, is unattainable. So these points E and F indicate both productive inefficiency and allocative inefficiency. And then this point in there indicate productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. And then any point outside is not attainable. Let's check questions. Identify inefficient point on the graph above. And then, identify the efficient point. The efficient point is point C because it's along the PPC. Any point along PPC is efficient. What is represented by the point E? Point E indicates both allocative and productive inefficiency. Briefly describe the concept indifferent curve. Indifferent curve show the combination of two goods which give the consumer the same level of satisfaction. And then we continue, still on the PPC. Why do market inefficiencies exist? Meaning, what causes market inefficiencies? The market forces, the market faces supply constraints. So the market cannot supply all of those goods that are demanded by consumers because of some challenges in terms of capital, which result to undersupply of goods and services. So the supply constraints result to firm not supplying what is demanded by consumers. The market misallocates resources, resulting to goods not being made available at the right quantity, right quality, and the right time. And then we continue. We have the data response continuing. How can negative externality be reduced using the quantity control? Now, this is the integration because this topic we are dealing with is market failure, and then we are linking it to what we call the topic on the environmental sustainability by regulating production of the product that is produced through emissions. So if the government can intervene by setting some regulations on the product that is produced by causing some pollution, then the negative externality can be reduced in there. By imposing limits or quotas on the size of pollution to be emitted. If the state can intervene by simply setting some limits or quotas on the pollution to be emitted by each firm. Increasing prices imposed on marketable permits can reduce negative externalities, meaning if ever the government can intervene by charging more on marketable permits, firms will find it expensive, then they will reduce the level of pollution or emissions they produce. Making marketable permits prices proportional or in proportion to the size of pollution emitted. If the firm is causing more pollution, they have to pay even high amount for marketable permits. That can lead to the pollution being reduced. And then data response again, the new one here, we are on the environmental sustainability. You can see we are talking about the hazardous waste and then the chemical waste. You adjust the same environmental problems. You people are dirty and very irresponsible. Look at all the destruction you have caused. You have killed the plant and animal life. You are only interested in profits. So in this case, we are talking about the loss of some species because of people, industries, and all other environmental aspects neglect taking care of the environment. We have lost the biodiversity. We are losing flora and fauna because of being careless. We are producing emissions. We are producing both chemical waste and hazardous waste in the environment. Then we are losing biodiversity. Let's look at the question. Identify one environmental problem in the cartoon. Hazardous waste. We have chemical waste, and then identify the phrase from the cartoon that relates to the loss of biodiversity. You have killed the plant and animal life. Briefly describe the term pollution. It is the introduction of waste or toxic substances into the environment. And then we continue with questions. Explain a measure adopted by international community to deal with the loss of biodiversity for 2 marks. Size bans commercial international trade in endangered species of plant and animals, meaning mobilizing plants and animals from one country to another was banned, especially for those that are endangered, plants and animals that are endangered to extinction. It was banned to ensure that we don't lose them. Why is hazardous waste and chemical waste regarded as harmful to the environment? They kill living organisms. therefore causing an imbalance in the ecosystem. They cause infertility in people, animals, and plants. We continue. It's revealed which regions in the world experience high level of air pollution. The database covers over 3,000 sites across the world, measuring fine particles. Meta measurements can be linked, per cubic meter. According to the World Health Organization, these measurements can be linked directly to increased health risk, as the particles are so fine they can cause a variety of diseases. Below are the 5 South African urban areas that experience the most air pollution. And then let's look at them. The highest is 60, and the lowest is 31. And then we have Hyperinflation, the Durban, Emalahleni, Tshwane, Port Elizabeth. The province, the first one in Northwest, KZN, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, and Eastern Cape. Adopted from www.environment.co.za. And then let's see and look at questions. Identify the most polluted urban area in South Africa in the information above. And then that's a Hyperinflation. In the information above, links health risk to air pollution. That is the World Health Organization. Briefly describe the term air pollution. The release of poisonous gases into the atmosphere that can damage the ecosystem and also leads to the loss of ozone layer. Why is pollution resulting from production such as a serious problem? And then let's check. Pollution resulting from production affect the whole environment, the land, sea, and atmosphere, and includes acid rain, smoke gases, toxic chemicals, pesticides, contaminants, cause diseases, health risk, cause global warming, and damage the ozone layer. Why are the major sites in South Africa the most polluted? High traffic congestion, which results to high carbon emissions. There are a number of factories which contribute to the release of poisonous gases into the atmosphere. These sites are more industrialized, such as production in factories can result in emissions of greenhouse gases, the most polluters in South Africa. And then we continue. We have data response. The United Nations Climate Change Conferences. The UN has yearly conference which serve as formal meeting of parties that are known as the Conference of the Parties, COP, which is known as COP. The meetings assess the progress made in dealing with climate change. The first conference was held in Berlin, Germany in 1995, and the third meeting was held in Kyoto, Japan in 1997, where the reduction of greenhouse gases was discussed. In 2011, the 17th meeting was held in Durban, South Africa. The emphasis was on the creation of Green Climate Fund. The Kyoto Conference outlined the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. In 2016, the 22nd conference, also known as COP22, was held in Morocco. Despite these numerous meetings, global temperatures are still increasing, meaning there have not been a better solution over the problem. Adapted from 222wikipedia.com. Let's look at questions. Give the name of one city in the extract where climate change conference were held. The Kyoto, Berlin, and Durban. So anyone. Identify the international organization in the extract above that initiate climate change conferences. United Nations or UN. Briefly describe the concept of climate change. Climate change is the unpredictable change in weather patterns or sustainable and significant change in weather conditions. We continue. How can Green Fund help to reduce global warming? It can enable the establishment and the use of renewable energy. Why is global warming increasing despite despite many international conferences on the climate change? It keeps on increasing. Governments, as parties to international agreements, being unable or less interested in implementing the agreements, rising conflict between goal of reversing global warming and that of increasing economic development, meaning governments are not interested, are not implementing those agreed upon strategies to ensure that we eliminate what we call the greenhouse emission. Industries who are more interested in increase in profits which is possible only when increase in production. So industries are mostly interested in increasing their profits. So as they cause more profit, as they get more profits or they produce more goods and services, they burn fossil fuels and they produce emissions. And also, industries are not willing to adopt to the latest technology that is eco-friendly. Increase in production is accompanied by emissions of greenhouse gases, which lead to the global warming. But then if industries can simply choose to use those production methods that are eco-friendly, there can be reduction of pollution. However, we know that the market feel like those production techniques are very much expensive for now. They don't have enough capital. And then the second data response, the carbon tax is finally coming to South Africa. South Africa is expected to pass in long-awaited carbon tax bill this year and implement the tax in January 2019. And then we are talking about the carbon tax here. To discourage customers from buying plastic bags, the state is also upping the plastic bag levy by 50% to 12 cents per bag. This will take effect on the 1st of April 2018. The carbon tax, which is an environmental tax, will be aimed at businesses and companies that emit high level of carbon emissions, polluting the atmosphere, adapted from Business Report 2018. Let's look at questions. Give an example of business or industry that emits or releases high level of carbon. Power stations, manufacturing plants, wine producers, taxi businesses. Why does the state discourage, or any other correct relevant response was given a mark? Why does the state discourage the use of plastic bags? Avoid pollution. Plastic bags are not biodegradable. And then protect the environment. We continue with questions on the same data response. Briefly describe the term environmental sustainability. It is the ability of the environment to survive its use for economic activity. Environmental sustainability refers to the maintenance of factors and practices that contribute to the quality of the environment on a long-term basis. Any other correct and relevant response is given a mark in this case. How could greenhouse gases lead to climate change? The greenhouse gases destroy the ozone layer, which allows more heat to penetrate to the earth. Greenhouse gases create blanket effect, which traps heat, resulting in extreme temperatures. And then explain the positive impact of the carbon tax on the environment, if ever carbon tax is imposed, requiring polluters to carry the external cost of their pollution. Businesses exploring renewable resources of energy which are environmentally friendly, reducing the amount of damage to the ozone layer and eventually reducing global warming. And then we have discussion questions. Differentiate between conservation and preservation of the environment, 8 marks. And then let's see the conservation. Conservation deals with the sustainable use of, and the management of natural resources to ensure that they are available for use by future generation, ensuring that natural resources are used in a wiser manner and sustainable manner so that it can be able to meet needs of the present generation and the future generation. Conservation aims to create continuity of the environment while ensuring that change is sympathetic to the quality of life. Human activities affect the environment not only because they cause pollution, but also because they tend to overutilize the environment. So when we conserve, we take care of environment and natural resources. We make use of them in a wise manner and sustainable manner so that it can be able to serve needs of the current generation and also needs of the future generation. That was for 4 marks. Then we check the next one. Preservation. Preservation concerns elements of the environment that are threatened to the with extinction, those that are in danger, those that can be completed or depleted if they are being overused. They should be preserved. Preservation aims to protect and maintain these elements in their present condition. So meaning ensuring that they remain intact, they remain in the present condition. They are not losing their value, they are not degraded when they are being used. The weaknesses in market solutions require government to intervene to preserve environmental assets through buying or expropriation, subsidizing, and control. So to preserve these resources and plants and animals easily, the state should intervene to ensure that even the market is able to preserve these resources, help to preserve biodiversity. So we can save and protect our flora and fauna. We can protect our endangered plants and animals. That was for 4 marks. Critically discuss the challenges countries face in reducing production of hazardous waste. Now, it is very important for you to discuss this. You know what is meant by hazardous waste. Producing goods in modern economies, which automatically leads to chemical waste as byproduct. This will mean that hazardous waste could only be reduced if production decreases, which would contribute to more unemployment. So this can be reduced if less production is produced. If we're using material or chemicals that should be wasted into the environment. Exporting hazardous waste to developing countries at a price. This gives them an opportunity to get rid of excess waste because many African countries, like Ivory Coast, allows this activity. So we know that some African countries allow those developed countries to simply waste their waste in their very own countries. E.g., we talk about Ivory Coast here that allows some other well countries to bring their waste and they get paid for that. So it cannot be reduced because it spills over from one country to another since people are getting paid for that particular waste or receiving that waste. We continue. Increasing economic activities such as manufacturing and agricultural production that exceed the measures used by the government to restrict or dispose of hazardous waste. More research should be done on using non-hazardous material and alteration of product composition to reduce the waste. Businesses not handling the hazardous waste by following regulations put in place, where handling of chemicals request precaution to the disposed is designed, in design areas for the sake of saving money. Many firms often dump these chemicals in the environment and it becomes dangerous for those people around animals as well as plants. We continue. Generating hazardous waste is also found in household, although on much smaller scale, such as leftover paints. The big challenge remains to change the mindset of people by educating households to reduce the usage of products that that is regarded as hazardous waste, like e-waste, where computers are sold in developing countries. That should have been hazardous waste in other foreign countries or regions or countries of origin. Briefly discuss the granting of property rights as measure to sustain the environment. Remember, you go straight now to state intervention as it offers property rights. We know that people always take care of what belongs to them. So that's why they are given property rights. Granting of property rights has a conservation effect as people take care of things that belong to them. So you know that as you are given something that belongs to you, you will always be protective. Give people property rights over plants and animals to prevent them from becoming extinct. So the state intervened by giving people some rights over plants and animals so that they can protect them. As they are protected, then they can last longer. Plants and animals may then be preserved at little cost to the taxpayer. And then we continue with the property rights. If property rights are expanded to common goods like tin air, those suffering because of pollution could charge the polluters for the right to pollute. It is impractical to extend private property. It is impossible to extend private property rights to air. But the principle of polluters paying victims to reduce pollution is sometimes followed by governments. And then, what is the importance of changes in inflation to investors and savers? That is for 8 marks. Savings, especially in bank fixed deposits, will be negatively affected due to inflation. Long-term savings and investments lose their value. We know that if ever people have saved their money in a long term, especially on the fixed rate, they lose during, if ever inflation increases. As inflation increases, the value of investment in bonds on which you pay a fixed interest rate decreases. Increasing inflation erodes the purchasing power of a bond future, fixed, and then a coupon income, reducing the present value of its future fixed cash flows. Accelerating inflation is even more detrimental to long-term bonds, given the cumulative impact of lower purchasing power for cash flows received far in the future. And then we continue with the example of questions, still on the same question. Assets with fixed long-term cash flows tend to perform poorly when inflation is increasing, since the purchasing power of those future cash flows falls over time. As the money is saved, it loses buying power if ever returns are fixed. Conversely, commodities and assets with adjustable cash flows, e.g., property rental income, tend to perform better with increasing inflation. Borrowers or debtors benefit from the price increase, but lenders or creditors are negatively affected, as the loan amount repaid later with the lower value. And then inflation hikes in fuel prices. Start the following, extract below and answer question that follow. Fuel hike to seep into consumer inflation. Then fuel hikes, as we read, will most certainly impact consumer inflation. According to economists, high fuel price can also affect inflation indirectly through second round impacts. If firms respond more on transporting their goods, they can upwardly adjust the final price of goods and pass on the additional price pressure to the consumer. Adapted from, there is the website given. Let's look at question. The topic is about inflation. Identify the type of inflation associated with the increase in fuel price in the above extract. That's a cost push inflation or supply inflation. Name one way in which inflation is measured. Is measured through price indicator, which is indices, which is a producer price index and consumer price index. Also weighting as well as inflation rate. Briefly describe the term core inflation. Core inflation excludes items from the basket that have highly volatile prices and items which prices are affected by the government intervention. Why should the wage rate be determined at the same rate or higher than inflation or higher rate than the average consumer price index? Workers must enjoy a better or the same standard of living. It should not be decreasing. That's why the rate should be, wage level should be determined at the same or above, not below. Workers should be able to afford basic goods, because if ever the wage rate is determined below inflation, then that will mean that income goes straight to cover for inflation. They should have enough money to satisfy their basic needs and wants. Cushions the effect of inflation, which could reduce disposable income, the real wage increase to keep track with the cost of living increase. And then hyperinflation. We start the information and answer questions. The country and inflation rate. We have country 1 to country number 10. Then we are analyzing, we have Venezuela, Zimbabwe, South Africa, South Sudan, Argentina, Iran, Sudan, Liberia, Haiti, Sierra Leone, and Angola. And then inflation rate. Then let's check the country with the most inflation in 2019. We can see this inflation rate is very, very high. And then source trading economies. Let's look at possible questions in there. Name the type of inflation currently experienced in Venezuela. That's a hyperinflation. Remember, it increases rapidly to the point that it can reach 50% and above, whereby consumers will be losing confidence and producers will be losing confidence over the economy of the country. Who carries the burden of high inflation rates? Consumers are the ones that become victims. Briefly describe the term inflation, sustained or significant increase in general price level of goods over a period of time, resulting to the decline in purchasing power parity. We continue. What are the political and social consequences on high inflation rate in South Africa? If ever inflation is very, very high, how does that impact political and social? Continuing increase in the prices of goods and services will make people unhappy. For instance, increasing prices of bread and taxi fares will increase the cost of living of poor households, which may lead to social and political unrest. There could be health problems because malnutrition among the poorest of the poor. There might be malnutrition because people will not be affording their basic needs. Inflation results to unemployment, which undermines the standard of living and result to poverty. Hunger might increase the level of crime and cause social instability. And then we continue. High inflation makes investors and consumers lose confidence over a ruling party within that particular country. Inflation might be used to reflect public sector failure since it aims to achieve price stability. We know that price stability is one of our inflation is beyond the target. That means public sector is failing. How does inflation affect infrastructure development for tourism? If ever there's more inflation, how does that affect improvement of the infrastructure in tourism industry? If the inflation rate of a country is high, the buying power of the currency loses the value. Cost of inflation also does not draw investments for tourism development projects. And then we continue. How can irrelevant use of measures to combat inflation cause stagflation? We know that stagflation occurs when inflation is very, very high. There's a high level of unemployment and lower economic growth. So if ever the government use irrelevant policies to combat inflation, that can lead to stagflation. Measures to combat cost-push inflation are beyond the central bank control. We know that central bank mainly combat the demand-pull inflation. It really combat cost-push inflation. The government should know the type of prevailing inflation before adopting measures to be used to combat it. You'll find that the inflation we are facing is cost push, but the government, the Reserve Bank, intervened by combating what you call the demand pull inflation. That can lead to the severe decline in economy and increase in unemployment, while inflation is increasing. Cost push inflation requires measures that increase productivity rather than the use of restrictive fiscal policy and the monetary policy, meaning we need to make use of supply side policies so that there will be greater supply of goods and services within the economy. How can irrelevant measures, okay, we continue with the same question. If the central bank become restrictive on monetary policy, while prevailing inflation is cost-push inflation, this might stress economy even further and resulting to the decline in employment, increased inflation, and decline in economic growth. If government uses restrictive fiscal measures, while prevailing inflation is cost-push inflation, the demand might decrease, resulting to further decline in productivity, increase in prices, and further decline in economic growth. And then headline inflation. There you are given the inflation rate, which was 6.5% somewhere there. And then we have the inflation also being at its lowest in the on 2018. That was that information was sourced from Stats SA and South African Reserve Bank in 2019. Let's look at questions for this data response. What do the dotted lines in the graph refer to? It refers to the inflation target, which is between 3 to 6%. During which year would the Monetary Policy Committee more likely to increase the repurchase rate? That was 2016 because inflation was very, very high. Briefly describe the term headline inflation. The inflation rate that represents the cost of basket for goods on an average South African household, which is measured by Consumer Price Index, unadjusted inflation. So if we talk of headline inflation, we talk about the CPI inflation, which is the inflation that has not been adjusted. It contains the effect of what we call the interest rate. Explain the influence of inflationary expectations on the consumption expenditure. If ever there will be more inflation, how do we consume as consumers today? We know that in 3 months there will be higher inflation. How can we consume now so that we can be better in the future? Under inflationary conditions, consumers expect prices to rise further and start buying more goods, e.g. petrol prices. If ever the petrol price will be increasing, petrol users will be buying more petrol at the early stage, preventing overspending in the near future. Labor unions wish to protect their members' income against erosion of purchasing power caused by inflation. Why is the CPI inflation always higher or bigger than CPIX inflation? Now, you need to know the difference between the CPI and CPIX inflation. CPI, we have just said, is a headline inflation, meaning it's unadjusted. And then CPIX is adjusted, has been adjusted for inflation. Headline inflation is adjusted CPI figures. it has an effect on, is an unadjusted CPI figure has an effect of interest rate. Interest rate distorts prices and result to CPI figures increasing. CPI X inflation is unadjusted. It does not have effect of interest rates. It contains actual CPI figures which are not distorted by increase in the interest rate adjustment by the central bank. And then consumer price index 2020, consumer price index 2021, and inflation rate. And then we have 154, 166, and A. For this one, it is very important for you to be able to calculate the to inflation rate. Remember, inflation rate equals to CPI now, or for the current year, minus CPI for the previous year, divided by CPI previous year times 100/1. Start the above table and calculate inflation rate. Advise the governor of the South African Reserve Bank on how him and monetary policy committee would use a repo rate based on prevailing inflation condition. Meaning here you simply start the information, calculate inflation rate. The inflation rate, if ever it's above inflation target of 3 to 6%, you advise the governor and MPC on how they should be using interest rate. If ever it's below the inflation target of 3%, 3%, meaning it's below 3%, you should advise based on that. Let's see. Inflation rate, CPI for 2021 minus CPI for 2020 over CPI 2020 multiplied by 100. So multiply by 100. So 166 minus 154 over 154. And then we got 7,79 multiplied by 100. Remember, we get 7,79. So remember now, this is 4 marks. Now what next? We need to advise the government. Our inflation rate is above, what you call, it's above 6%. That means there should be restrictive measure to be taken by Reserve Bank. So since our inflation target is between 3 to 6%, what should be done? South African inflation target is between 3 to 6%. The governor of South African Reserve Bank with MPC must intervene by increasing repo rate to decrease the money supply. High repo rate results to the credit becoming expensive. This decreases credit availability. Less borrowing results to less money supply, which results to the decrease in aggregate demand in the economy. Less demand relieve pressure on supply and push prices down. Then inflation can be combated and inflation rate can go down to the desired target. And then this is the essay. Essay structure, remember, you have your introduction, whereby you simply define the concept related to the question. It's 2 marks. We continue. You have your body, where you have your main part and an additional part. Your main part is 26 marks. Additional part is 10 marks. And then that will be giving you your 36 marks. And then you have your conclusion. Your conclusion will be for 2 marks maximally. That's why you provide a summary and use your own recommendations. But you avoid repeating information that have been mentioned, maybe, either in the body, main part, or additional part. But your conclusion should combine both main part and additional part. It should be a critical response, higher order response, not lower order. You are not repeating any information mentioned. Also, you are not giving a summary to say, in this, say I have discussed this and that. We don't take that, but be critical as you respond. Give the viewpoint, suggest, etc. The essay will be out of 40 marks. So remember, an essay should be arranged through subheadings, use point forms, not paragraphs, use IMAC introduction, main part, additional, and conclusion. Remember 8 to 18 principle, whereby 8 marks is for lower order, which include examples and listing subheadings, and 18 marks for discussing the content itself. The content knowledge will be out of 18 marks, where you discuss the concept in depth. And then we'll continue with the principles. Be aware that mere listing on a additional part will give you about 2 marks, because you are listing, you should be discussing. Ensure that responses you provide are enough to score maximum marks. Arrange your essay in point form, but in full sentences. Your conclusion should not have any repetition of either introduction, main part, or additional part information that have been provided. Essay conclusion must be higher order response. And then microeconomic essay, just an example, discuss in detail the various equilibrium positions of a perfect market with the aid of graphs. And then discuss the monopoly in detail without the aid of graphs. These are essays that we are having. Examine oligopoly in detail. Compare and contrast any two types of market structures, perfect to imperfect, imperfect to perfect. We continue. Discuss in detail how the following factors lead to the misallocation of resources in the market. That's a market failure. Discuss in detail state intervention as consequence of market failure, with or without graphs. And then learners have to know all of the above for microeconomics, as anyone can be asked. Let's say example. Compare monopolistic competition and oligopoly under the following headings: demand curve with graphs, profit, as well as the nature of product, 10, 6, and 6. Entry and exit. So we are comparing both a monopolistic and oligopoly under the market structure. 26 marks in there. Additional part, how does monopolistic competitor survive competition in the market? 10 marks. And then let's look at the example of the essay. That's where you introduce, now you define either oligopoly and monopolistic. Oligopoly exists when a small number of large firms or companies are able to influence the supply of a product or service in the market, while monopolistic competition is an imperfect structure that exists when there are many sellers that produce similar but slightly differentiated products. That was your introduction as for definition, the body and the main part. So the demand curve. The demand curve for the monopolistic is downward sloping. The demand curve for the monopolistic competition is more price elastic, flatter, due to availability of close substitute and competition. And then there's the demand curve being in there. In the long term, monopolistic competition makes the normal profit. Long run profits are reduced by higher competition within the monopolistic competition. Since there is a free entry, competition will be increasing in the long run and profits will be reduced. An oligopoly can make economic profit in the short run and the long run. This is a result of few number of firms and limited competition, which causes market dominance. Differentiated products. Differentiated products are similar but with slightly different in ingredients, branding, and packaging. An oligopoly sells homogeneous or differentiated products. If the product sold is homogeneous, the market is known as a pure oligopoly. And if the product sold is differentiated, the market is known as differentiated oligopoly. Entry and exit. Entry into and exit from the monopolistic is completely free, meaning firms are free to enter or leave the market. New competitors are free to enter the market, while existing firms are free to leave the market after enjoying their profits. Natural and artificial barriers to entry do not exist under the monopolistic. New producers do not easily access oligopoly's market. Barriers to entry block the entry of new businesses. And then additional part. How does monopolistic competitor survive competition in the market? 10 marks. Let's look at possible responses. A monopolistic competitor survives by offering differentiated product that makes it unique from those of competitors and less price elastic. Competing based on non-price competition of factors increase the sales for the business. Using branding to indicate differences when competing with other suppliers in the market. We continue with the additional part. Aggressive advertising campaigns can be launched to attract the attention of customers. Extending shopping hours will be more convenient for customers to make use of their services, e.g. 24-hour services. Providing free deliveries within a certain range of a business, ensuring the edge over the competition. Making product information reach consumers at the right time in order to increase sales. Conclusion. Any other conclusion at the higher order might be accepted. Oligopolies can be involved in collusion and fixed price illegally, whereas collusion does not exist in a monopolistic competition. Both oligopoly market and monopolistic competitor use non-price competition to increase their sales. Oligopolies always avoid price war because of market interdependence, while monopolistic competitor find it unnecessary to compete over the price, since products differentiation make their products not identical or not the same. That was the conclusion of the essay. And then our lesson ends here with the target that you have set. Know your year mark that you have achieved. Also, take it as if everything is new. Ignore what you have achieved over the year and start from the empty slate now. Term 4 should be treated as something new, as something standing on its own, because we have more percentage that we are working for. 75% is too much. Ensure that you push as much as you can so that you can achieve your target. Remember, everything is possible. As much as you put your effort, there will always be results to be generated after that. Economics might be hard and demanding. It needs you also to be very hard as you study. Dedicate yourself. Use more strategy that can give you opportunities and that can give you credits as you write your examination. Go to the examination being well prepared. Maximize opportunities to get section A marks. That 25, that 30 marks is very important. Ensure that you keep on hashtag 25. The minimum for all of us should be 25 over 30, then maximum should be 30. By doing so, no one can get level 1. Remember, in economics, we count in 15s. After getting 30 over 150, we add 15. You get to level 2. And then 45 over 150 plus 15, it will be 60. That is the next level. 60 over 150 plus 15, you get 75. That is level 4. 75 over 150 plus 15, it takes you to 90. That is the next level. 90 over 150 plus 15, it takes you to 105. That is the next level. 105 over 150 plus 15, it's 120. That's your distinction. Ensure that in every level that we are in now, add 15 to go to the next level. If you want to jump maybe 3 levels, you need to add even 45 marks in that particular concept. So I'm wishing you all the best, and we'll meet again next week, where we'll be preparing intensively for paper 1 to be written on the 1st of November 2022. All the best as you start. Thank you.